sometimes it's hard to explain to somebody why you feel like it's your calling. It's like, so what? You were able to stop drinking. Doesn't mean you can help people. And I'm like, no, I am your sister, your neighbor, your friend at church, your kids, mom's friend. Like, I'm you. And I saw this quote and it said, listen, sometimes God redeems your story by surrounding you with people. I'm going to get upset. Hold on. It's so perfect. I don't know why I'm getting upset. By surrounding you with people who need to hear your past so it doesn't become your future.
Marjorie Adams-Fiore is a former competitive drinker turned truth teller on a mission to help women break up with alcohol and step into their most vibrant lives. A straight shooting author, speaker, and coach, Marjorie's story of ditching a 25-year wine habit has inspired countless women to quit numbing and start thriving. Through wit, wisdom, and unapologetic honesty, she shows it's never too late to get your shit together and create the life you deserve. Now, I know you ended a 25-year toxic relationship. So can you tell us a little bit about that and why you ended this relationship?
I sure can. I think my story is going to resonate with a lot of us, especially in midlife, who feel like we're just coasting along or just starting to question the path that we're on. And I'm going to jump around, but my life lesson at the end is really, I'll give you the sneak peek. It's your whole focus too, is that you can rewrite your story at any stage, at any age. And you absolutely should, because nobody's going to do it for you. And that's what's cool about being in midlife is you kind of say, wait, this isn't working for me anymore. And we have that wisdom and that confidence that number one, it's going to work out. And number two, we know we deserve more. And I also want people to think about like, who's waiting on you to fully show up and really realize your full potential, because somebody is looking as you or to you as a role model. Doesn't mean it's a good role model, but it does mean somebody's looking up to you. So it took me a lot of years, but I had a pretty big wake up call that led to a complete shift in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. My life is unrecognizable today, but let me just back up a little bit. I think when we reach our 50s, and now I just turned 60 last month.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we can look back over the past decades, because that's how we look at our life now in decades, right? Because we got a couple under our belt, and we'll see those patterns that we repeat. It's kind of fun to do that. See the milestones every 10 years, like, oh, what was I worried about in my 20s? Or what was my big accomplishment in my 30s? Or what was my big struggle or challenge? Or, those wins and losses, those milestone markers. And I think throughout my 30s and 40s, I was pretty typical, hitting those traditional milestones, advancing in my career, raising my son as a single mom, maintaining an image that looked put together from the outside. I really loved fitness. But the reality was I was keeping it all together with a nightly glass of wine and then another glass. And eventually it wasn't just a social drink. It became my crutch, my Band-Aid, my solution for a day's worth of stress, anxiety, and that gnawing feeling that this is not right. I had the functioning thing down pat, checked all the boxes, career success, like I said, working out in the morning, personal growth books on my nightstand. Everything was the way it should be from the outside. But behind that facade, there was this growing sense of dissatisfaction. And if I'm honest, a loss of control. So as I was getting ready, I remember distinctly the December that the year was going to change. And I'm like, am I going to drag this into my 50s? Am I going to be, eventually the drunk grandma, or am I going to be like, am I going to do another whole decade of this dark cloud? No matter what was good in my life, I had this secret, like, well, they don't really know how much I drink, or I drank again too much last night. Like, it was just this soul gripping dead weight that I'm like, am I going to drag this in? Just continue this same negative cycle, this same loop into my 50s? And that nagging feeling just grew. And that's what I think is a midlife crisis. When you're kind of living out of alignment, like your head, your heart, your actions are not really what you want to be doing. That's a midlife crisis. And it only becomes a crisis when we ignore it. So you've got to face that head on. And I knew that I was tired of living life through a blurred lens, being numbed out, like missing out on opportunities, or even just precious moments because I wasn't present. And in that moment, I thought, no, I want more. I want more. And I think a lot of us, it's funny because I will chat up different people here and there, and inevitably, I feel like some woman in her 50s or 60s has just kind of, there's a fork in the road when you get midlife, and it's like you can say woohoo this next chapter, or you say, oh my gosh, I don't even want to do anything else. Like you just kind of check out. You think, all right, my life's not bad, it's not great, it's good enough. And we kind of surrender, and not in a good way. But I feel like we can take, one of two paths. And you and I are both kind of like, we're going to grab our community and say, no, we have another whole chapter to live, and it could be amazing. And that turning point, it hit me like a brick that I thought, I'm not going to do this. And I realized that alcohol was not just something I did. It was the thing holding me back. I remember this from every area in my life. I'm like, oh, how come I can't get the body that I want, get in the shape? I worked out hard. I had trainers. How come I'm not advancing my career the way I want? How come I can't get this side thing going? How come I don't have the great relationships that I want? How come I start to feel like my son and I aren't on the same page anymore? Everything pointed back to this one common denominator, and it was my drinking, because I was not the same person. Most of us aren't when we drink, but it was the one obstacle between me and this dynamic version of myself that I knew was still in here. And once I realized, this is an important part too, with any kind of, my thing was drinking. Somebody else's thing could be shopping, or addicted to gambling or sex or food, whatever your thing is. But when you realize it's taking more from you than what it's giving, like when that pain far outweighs any temporary pleasure, that's when you're ripe for change. And I got excited because I'm like, it's one thing. It's not 15 things. I mean, I knew it was going to open a whole other door of other things, but I'm like, this is one thing. Because again, with whatever your thing is, and for me, it was alcohol and drinking, it's got a ripple effect. I looked like I was doing all these other things great and hit on all cylinders, but I wasn't. It just kind of seeps into every area of your life. But the same is true when you decide to get things back under control. Like I could focus on my drinking, and guess what? My sleep's going to get better. My confidence is going to soar. I am going to take those opportunities. I am going to go for new things. I am going to show up different in my relationships. I am going to be a better mom just because I stopped drinking or got my drinking under control. So that was a cool, pivotal moment. So I thought, okay, now I'm going to do this, because deciding is step one. But then you got to have
a question before you go on to the next step is, you said you had this realization before you went into your 50s, right? Like New Year's Eve, going in. And did it take just literally that one night of this realization, or did it take a couple of months? And that was
girl. Oh, good question.
And I'm like, wow, she did this all in one night.
Well, this is why it's funny you're saying that, because I always cringe when I see some celebrity that says, oh, I did cocaine and everything for 25 years and I just stopped. I'm like, oh, don't act like it's hard. When somebody says they quit smoking, I'm like, oh my God, that is so hard. No. It took me, I made the decision, but that's a good segue to the very next part, because I decided, okay, this is it. Like, and it was a culmination of, ugly fights and ruined vacations, and that shame and that humiliation was just at its peak. And I'm like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. That's the lowest vibration emotions we can have. And they feel like crap. And thank goodness, because I want to go the other way. So what did I do? I did what any other controlling perfectionist master multitasker would do, is I booked a 3-week intensive fitness retreat in Utah. I know, you connect the dots. I did, because I thought, okay, I want to stop drinking. And I just wanted to be locked away, not in rehab, not AA. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I thought, just get me away from this routine that I've established every day. Like, it's just what I do every day. It's part of my daily life. I brush my teeth in the morning and I have a bottle of wine at night. It doesn't matter what I did during the day. I wasn't shaking. It's like, I just automatically, that's what I did. And I wanted to get out of that environment. So I thought, I'm going to book this 3-week fitness retreat. I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. Surely in 3 weeks, I could change my habits. They say it takes 21 days. Maybe I'll lose a little bit of weight. and just jumpstart my health, because I really was into that. And I don't like to be held back and say, well, now that you're 50, here's your limitations. I'm like, screw that. I want to show everybody that I can be the best version of me no matter what my age is, because we both know age is a mindset. But deep down, I knew that I was really trying to outrun my drinking habit. I thought, lock me away and it will magically go away and poof, I'll be changed. And it was a big commitment financially, away from my family, but I really felt like it. I thought, this is going to save my life. It's going to save my marriage. It's going to save everything. I've got to take this selfish time. But it wasn't really selfish. It was the best way. I thought, how can I do a bunch of things at one time and get in the best shape, mentally, physically, all of that. And I did that. It was intensive. It was exactly what I wanted. Came home and I'd gotten in great shape. I felt good, felt, energized. And I had this false sense of confidence that I could have a glass of wine. Like, obviously I wasn't addicted. I mean, it only took 3 weeks and now I don't want to drink at all. So I think it was like a week after I was home, I had a glass of wine. And then within a week, I was back to a bottle. Because for me, it's like that switch is either on or it's off. And let me tell you, when we were at the fitness retreat, it was very intensive. I'm not exaggerating. 5 o'clock in the morning, they picked us up in a van from the hotel in the dark, drove us to the gym. We worked out in the gym. We ate breakfast in the gym. It was all day long until we all ate dinner together. And it was only like 9 of us. And about 6 of the people had a weight problem. They had a food addiction. And so we got 1 massage a week and we got 1 appointment with a counselor or a therapist. And I thought, you know what? I'm going all in. I put the money, I put the time, I'm going to go to the therapy appointments. And I was honest and authentic and and I explained my drinking habit, how out of control it had gotten. And by the end of the session, he pretty much said to me, wow, that sounds more like a full-blown addiction. Do you think I went back to any more? No. So when I got home, it looked again on the surface like I did all this time and this energy and devoted this, this chunk of my life to getting my habit under control, but I hadn't really worked on the core issue. So no, it wasn't like I thought about it and then it took, because you got to be ready. I liked drinking. That was the problem. I drank for 25 years. I didn't hate it for 25 years. It was when it started to become a problem and it started to interfere with my life and it started to change how I showed up. So I struggled for maybe the last 5 years, but it probably, when I decided, it took me another 18 months before I really, because my friends all drank, like my lifestyle was drinking. It was fun. I just liked it. I was the corporate girl who drank at the Marriott parties, all that. And I think a lot of us struggle, like, do I have to change my identity and blow my whole life up just to stop drinking? So it was when I really decided to finally handle the drinking head on. No more Band-Aids, no more shortcuts, that everything changed. So, and it wasn't just without doing the work, but I had to take a look at what I had made alcohol mean in my life and to my life and what connection, because it's a brain thing. There's definitely a physical component. There's a societal component, but it's what have you linked drinking to? It's not the solution. You're trying to feel a certain way. You're trying to not feel a certain way. So you're drinking. And again, if I met somebody, I'm not exaggerating. If I met somebody that said they didn't drink, I'm thinking, they're a man. Like, they just mean they don't get drunk or they don't drink to excess or they don't drink just because it's Tuesday. But I really had designed my life so it was kind of like that was just the norm. And I could not imagine a life without drinking. And now I can't imagine a life with drinking because, again, when I decided to quit, it wasn't some long drawn out decision, but it was like I was finally aligned. And I'll tell you, I remember thinking, it feels like, I don't know if it was God or the universe was going, oh, there you are. Like, I've been waiting on you to do your part. Like, get your shit together. Here's all the gifts and here's all the blessings that have been waiting for you. But you've got to do your part, show up fully present. And that dream life was waiting right on the other side. And I feel like it's my mission now. I truly feel like it's my calling to help other women because I know what that feels like. It is such a horrible, helpless, stuck. I call it all the ucks, like the muck, the yuck, the other one, all stuck there. And, where they maybe say, they feel like they're in the same boat, and they feel trapped by the habit that they know was holding them back. Like they can say, yes, it's my drinking, but I don't know what to do, because alcohol does get a grip on you. It does. And I used to have a lot of shame about my drinking. I'm like, again, I'm controlling, I'm a perfectionist, which I use as my superpowers. I am a great mom, but I had this shame. I'm like, wait, I'm all this, but this substance has more control over my life than I do. And I'm like, yeah, it did. So now, I would have to dread to tell somebody, oh, I'm not drinking, or I don't do that. If I go to a party, people say, oh, you're drinking. I'm like, oh, I drank enough. Or I like to say, I thought they gave out trophies for being best drinker, but I found out they don't. So I quit practicing every day. Like I just kind of make fun like that. And it's more like, smarter than that. It doesn't work for me. And I'm not judging people who drink. I will go to the bar with you. My best friend still drinks. I won't sit at the bar while you have 3 glasses of wine, but I like bars. I like that environment. I like, especially if it's a small town dive bar on vacation. I just don't hang out there all day. I don't drink to excess. And I don't drink at all, but I won't sit with somebody who's drinking to excess. But I don't judge you. I care if you know your drinking is out of hand and you're denying it. I care if you care. That's what bothers me. So I won't condone that. But now I wear it like a badge of honor. And I know, I can guide people through that process and help them. Like, I feel like it would just be kind of like, you're in this boot camp and now you got through it. Now go live your beautiful, juicy life that you have clarity and you have energy and you have confidence, because it breaks my heart. Like you said, oh, good, you made the decision. Now what? And it usually takes a DUI or a scary health scare or some kind of, embarrassing, humiliating situation to make people like that's the catalyst for their change. But there's so much power.
Or it's a family intervention. And did that happen with you? Did your family intervene or say something like, Marjorie, you have a problem with drinking?
No, and I'll tell you the truth, Suzanne. I kind of wish even a doctor, I would go to the doctor. I would be honest with how much I drank. And they would say, well, your numbers are all good. Does it really bother you? Like I wanted them to say, what are you doing? And that's where I feel like my strength is, because I care so much, but I'm not the person that'll say, oh, just try to cut back, switch to red wine. I'm like, no, it's freaking poison. Like give yourself a break. If you think for a second you have an alcohol problem, that's good enough. That's good enough. But I feel like you've got to have a plan or a framework. I'm in a lot of sobriety groups online as a participant, because I want to be able to help and get in there and just see what the main challenges are with people. And these young mom groups, I think it's called Sober Moms is one of them. I tell you, my heart breaks, because they'll say, I got drunk again last night. My husband said he's leaving. Or we all walked to Target and got our bottle of Jameson from the bus stop. That was a true post. These are women with little kids that have all that going on. And I'm like, or they'll say, I'm ready to stop. And I just want to scream, now what? You cannot do it with willpower. You don't have to go to AA. You don't have to go to rehab. You don't have to buy my program or my book, but you have got to have a framework. Willpower will kickstart you. It will not last. And it's funny because I did see this, it was an unrelated post, but sometimes it's hard to explain to somebody why you feel like it's your calling. It's like, so what? You were able to stop drinking. Doesn't mean you can help people. And I'm like, no, I am your sister, your neighbor, your friend at church, your kids, mom's friend. Like I'm you. I can help you because I've been there. I didn't just spend all this time in school learning how to be an addiction counselor. I've walked it. I've lived it. And I saw this quote and it said, listen, sometimes God redeems your story by surrounding you with people. I'm going to get upset. Hold on. It's so perfect. I don't know why I'm getting upset. By surrounding you with people who need to hear your past so it doesn't become their future. And that's what I feel like I can do. It's like, I just know there's people struggling. It's just challenging to meet them. Nobody wants to raise their hand and go, you're right. I have a drinking problem, especially in the social media public forum. So that's why I'm so grateful for you to have platforms like this, and you're using, your podcast, especially for women in our age who just, sometimes they drink just because they're bored. Like they're like, I'm not hurting anybody. And it's like, yeah, but now that boredom drink has turned into a bottle, and now you're ashamed because it's a problem. And you're just kind of tap out on life. Like, we're not done. God doesn't say, you're good till you're about 50. That's not it. We just get to redefine ourselves,
Well, Marjorie, you, first of all, that was so beautiful, that quote. I love that. And I love how you're using this to change others' lives. And as you were telling your story, I realized how strong you were to do this on your own. That because when I asked you about maybe it was her family intervening and saying, hey, you need to do something about it, is you realizing on your own. And you know what? The truth is, none of us like to face our own shit. It's true.
Mm-mm.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And it's hard to look in the mirror and say, hey, you have a problem and this isn't good and you need to change your life. And I commend you for it, because you were able to do this on your own. And while it didn't happen overnight, I love how you're honest about it. Is this didn't happen, New Year's Eve, and then the next year I was like clean. I'm not drinking anymore. It was a journey, but I would love to know. What are your thoughts on doing, because you did a fitness retreat, which is,
Totally unrelated, but yeah, I did.
Yeah, totally unrelated.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on traditional rehab versus going to AA or going to AA to
Well,
help someone with their drinking problem?
and that's what's interesting. It's a good question because and believe me, doesn't mean my framework that I've created is, one size fits all. That's what I'm very aware of. I'm also aware of things like I don't call myself an alcoholic. I don't say I'm in recovery. I don't say I'm sober. I just don't drink. Some people need those labels for accountability. I think those labels for me would be shame. I don't have to admit that I was addicted to alcohol. I toxically abused alcohol, an abusive relationship with alcohol, whatever works for me. The point is that it was enough of a catalyst to change. And my question for people is, there wasn't a family intervention, and it was easy for me because everything else in my life looked like it was going along. I was highly functioning. And that's what happens. That's such a myth that you're a functioning alcoholic. You're functioning until you become non-functioning. And that's what is inevitable. So when these other coaches or other programs are going to teach you how to moderate or teach you how to take a break, I'm like, no, you need to take, or teach you how to drink less. I'm sorry. I'm like, you need to take a intended 30-day break so your body can purge from the alcohol, the poison, your brain, and just get a perspective on what alcohol is doing to your life and what role it should play going forward. But people are so afraid they have to say, oh, I have to admit right now, I don't want to drink forever. It's like, no, you don't have to say that, but don't you deserve it? Like, it's poison that stays in your body. Like it's classified up there with cocaine. That's like saying, can you teach me how just to do a little bit of meth each day? I don't want to be an addict. It's like, no, that's exactly the same thing. So my question is, if people listening right now and they know they've been denying that their drinking has spiraled out of control, why not now and why not you? Like, what's holding you back from being the best version of yourself? Because while I did do it myself, and here's why. I do think that AA has its place, was not for me. Rehab has its place. There's a lot of stigma with that. I didn't want to spend the time or the money. And again, I felt like that would be putting me away for 30 days without my life happening. And then you come back and you're like, oh, geez, well, how do I do when this happens and when I have this issue? Like, you've got to learn while you're living it. And I did create a 30-day framework because it was the best resources that I dabbled in for those 18 months until I got it right. And then I'm like, this is what works. Just day by day, step by step. Here's one concept. Here's how you can apply it. Here's a self-reflective exercise, because you got to get back in touch with who you are. Like, we can't keep trying to live dual lives. That's also a big one too. You feel like you're one person who you are, like with other people, and then you're this other persona when you're drinking. And for me, that was ugly. But think about this. Like we can all imagine what like a glass ceiling is. We talk about that a lot. We're going to break the glass ceiling. There's no glass bottom that you have to achieve. There's no required, oh, you're not that bad. It's like, no, if alcohol is interrupting any area of your life, any area, it's time to address it and take a look at it and make a change. Because when somebody tells me, I love this when somebody goes, oh, I can't drink. It makes me sick. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. You know how blessed you are? There's not that dilemma. There's not that brain space of like, okay, I'm only let me have 2, or I'm only going to drink red wine, or I'm only going to drink after 5 o'clock on Saturdays. Like there's so much planning and so much wasted energy. I remember the days of waking up in the morning, laying in bed saying, God, please give me the strength to not drink today, please. And at night I would go to bed and go, God, please forgive me because I drank. Help me be stronger tomorrow. Like all that was so much energy. So much of my life was spent drinking and then feeling bad about my drinking and then planning not to drinking and then planning to drink. I mean, so for me, I feel like when you got yourself into this situation. So don't get lost in some big group program where you can say, well, you know, oh gosh, Suzanne lost her job. I never lost my job. Oh, Suzanne got a DUI. I never got a DUI. Like, obviously I'm not that bad. Like you can, or you get lost in the rabbit hole like I do in these Facebook groups of people's stories that are so horrible and you feel so bad for them. But I need the focus to be on me. So when you do the framework, it's a self-guided hybrid group program with a lot of touch points and a lot of accountability. But can you imagine the feeling of getting through that, where we work on changing your thinking, the brain connections? So key. Your habits, your routines, what you've made alcohol mean. And it just starts to become clear. Like, of course I would be addicted. I made it mean connection to my dad when we would drink together. I made it mean bonding. I made it mean acceptance. Like I had all these warped connections to alcohol that I had to break and revisit and look at. But when you get through that and you're like, oh yeah, I did that. I got through that program. I just put my head down and I worked through it every day. That kind of confidence that number one, you chose to make the change. And then number two, you went through it yourself. I do believe in the group, community aspect, but that's after you've done that. It's kind of like having the group becomes the retainer, like when you get your braces off and so your teeth don't shift back. You need that ongoing support. But I feel like when you decide, instead of being forced to make a change because of some legal thing that happened, or like you said, an intervention or a financial thing, or God forbid you lost your job, you're choosing to become the best version of you. And that confidence, then it's like if something else in life happened, you're like, oh my gosh, I got through that. I ended a 25-year drinking relationship, addiction. What else? Bring it on. Because now my mind doesn't go, oh God, what am I going to do? When you have all that stress and anxiety when you drink. And now I'm like, okay, who do I call for help? I'm smarter than this. I can figure this out. Like we're going to have life challenges, no matter how great and perfect your life is and how much support you have. You still got to find that internal resourcefulness, which we all have. So I help you get tapped back into that. And then that is what is the catalyst for lasting change.
Awesome. Well, Marjorie, this has been great. So tell us 3 things you learned from this experience.
Oh, girl. They're kind of harsh, but that's how I am. Tell it like it is. The first one is that self-respect is non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. And I realized that if I'm willing to settle for toxic relationships of any kind, with alcohol, with people, with habits, then subconsciously I'm telling myself I don't really deserve better. And breaking up with alcohol taught me how to respect myself in a way I never had before. That's lesson 1. Lesson 2 is really the whole crux of my 30-day program is you have to feel to heal. When I finally realized that numbing my emotions by drinking was just putting a pause on the pain. If I worked around it or through it or tried to avoid it, the pain's going to be there. Hi, I'm still waiting for you. You have to face it head on. And it could be so daunting, like, oh God, I don't want to figure out what happened when I was 6 that makes me drink. You don't. We're big girls. Here's my problem. I need some new tools. I need some new tools to fix it, because a lot of people use alcohol to I'm happy, I'm sad, it's Tuesday, it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. I got this, I owe myself a reward. I want to shut my brain off. We use alcohol for all that. That's like saying, I'm going to remodel my whole house and I've only got a hammer. Like, it's not going to work. You need more tools. You need new tools. And then the third lesson, which really, I promise I came up on my own, is it's never too late to rewrite your story. I don't care if you've been stuck in that cycle for 25 years or 25 days. You can hit the reset. You can get your do-over anytime you want. Because breaking up with alcohol was not just about quitting for me. It was about rediscovering what I'm capable of when I don't hold myself back. It was about taking back control of my life story. And I promise you, this next chapter, it's going to be epic.
So Marjorie, how can they find you?
The best place, the one-stop resource is my website, and it's midspiration.com. MID, like inspiration, but midspiration for midlife.com. And all my resources and my courses and my groups will be on there. But Suzanne, thank you so much for giving me the time today and the platform. And I love what you're doing for our other groups and our other women out there that are looking for us.